Hello and welcome to everyone to this fourth episode of Deep Point with GillyCricket. I see a few people are already in waiting and few comments have already come in. Someone like Subodh Chauhan, who's a regular viewer of this show, has already sent in a few questions asking me, uh, a lot about broadcasting, about being a franchise owner in the IPL, why Virat and Rohit's game has gone down against Spin, and I'm always happy to take these questions. Thank you so much, Subodh, for being a very regular viewer of the show. Ames asking what's wrong with Harshal's techniques nowadays. Well, this is a question that I'll save for later when there are a few more people, watching the show, because that it is something that I want to address upon. I have some data that will fascinate everyone. So Aim, I'll get to that question. I'll get to that question later. Don't worry. This is the question that AM has asked. Manas Jain's asking me, do you agree that Virat Kohli's spin game has improved slightly since the Asia Cup? Well, Manash, I'd say that his game has been encouraging against spin. Even when he was struggling in the IPL, he did well against Rashid. So that was surprising. But he did well against Mujib as well. He played a sweep shot. He used his feet, and then the way he batted against Zampa in the third T20I against Australia, I thought that was even more encouraging. And then how he batted in the second T20I versus South Africa. So yes, it's encouraging. Yeah, I'd like to believe that it has improved, but I'd still want to wait a few more games to make that conclusion. And I want to see how he does in other formats as well against spin before I come to that conclusion. Absolutely, but good question nevertheless. Subodh Chauhan's right in there. He's asking what will be our pace attack for the first game versus Pakistan. I suppose now the fact that the 15th player who's going to be Jasprit Bumrah's replacement has still not been named yet. I suppose you only have three options as of now, and they are Bhuvi, Arshdeep, and Harshal. And those three, I suppose, will be the three pacers. I would personally go with Ashwin as the specialist winner instead of Chahal. But yeah, I think for Pacers there aren't much options left because India are yet to name the replacement unless they name the replacement while the show's on. In case that happens, do let me know because then I'd move on to discussing that. But yeah, Subodh again has something else to say. Broadcasters should appoint analysts who have played a lot of T20 cricket in their career because there are lots of analysts are test specialists on TV. I'm not disrespecting anyone. They say Shami's replacement Bumrah. Okay, I get what Subodh is saying, and it's something that I've spoken a lot and tweeted a lot about. That uh, on the whole, the broadcasting has to improve, wherein they are teaching and explaining the game far better than what they are doing right now to the viewers, because that is why you should have ex cricketers, right? An ex cricketer should be adding something that I as a viewer don't know from the outside, or I as a viewer am not getting to know from social media. So if the broadcasters bring in ex cricketers and if they are talking about technique, then there's nothing like it, because what a Wasim Akram will tell you about wrist position and how to reverse the ball, or try to get different kind of movement from the ball. That is something that no analyst I think can tell you, because most analysts do depend upon numbers and a few things, but techniques I'm not so sure. And what Sunil Gavaskar or Sanjay Manjrekar will tell you about batting techniques is something that again a lot of analysts will not be able to tell you. Though I still believe that Sunil Gavaskar shouldn't be commentating in T20s because his understanding of T20 I think is quite, for the lack of a better word, outdated. But yes, if broadcasters were to ask him purely about cricketing technique, I think there's an institution right there wherein people can learn a lot about technique. So that is where I stand on things. New comments have started to come in. Saurabh Chaturvedi is asking, what do you think about Indian commentators? They mostly pass cliche statements like catches in matches, running in very important. They don't analyze the game. Well, we were on that topic itself. Saurabh, so catches win matches is one thing that I want to discuss upon. Now, this cliche was a cliche, or was brought into the game because I think in the late 90s, fielding wasn't an area of concern, or fielding wasn't an area where teams would put a lot of hard work into, right? But I think now with teams putting a lot more hard work than what they used to do before, sometimes you just extrapolate that catches win matches into a lot of things, and to such conclusions wherein we just blame the whole game on that dropped catch, or sometimes even that one no ball or a lost opportunity. I've believed, and I'm not saying this in context of one particular game, but whether it be a T20 game or an ODI game or a test match game, it's a game of 240 balls, 600 balls, and 450 overs. 450 overs, if you multiply by 6, will come out to around 2700 deliveries. So you're not going to lose these matches just on the basis of one delivery. That is something that I've always said, and I will maintain that. A lot of people give a lot of criticism to Jasprit Bumrah for that no ball in the Champions Trophy 2017. A lot of criticism to Deepti Sharma for bowling that no ball against South Africa women in the last league game of this year's World Cup. A lot of people gave a lot of criticism to Arshdeep Singh for dropping that catch. You have to realize that one ball doesn't really affect the result of the game. It becomes for easy analysis, like you said. They don't analyze the game because it's easy to pin the blame on that. What you always forget when you're talking about the loss, that dropped opportunity, or the drop catch, or that no ball, is that the game wasn't made of that one single delivery. There were far many other opportunities and far other deliveries that were bowled in the game. So you need to, be cognizant of that as well while just analyzing that one lost opportunity. So that is where I stand on it, and I tend to agree with you, Saurabh, over there. Harsh Bhavnani has now sent in one question. Do you think there should be both Shardul and Chahar in place of Bumrah and Hooda respectively, as they give more all-round options and flexibility, and they are decent at the depth? Shardul Thakur is not decent at the depth. He's a risk. So is Chahar. I and Shardul's been out of India's T20 scheme of things after the IPL because he had a really bad IPL, and I don't think he has ever had an IPL where his economy rate has been less than 8. He's still improving, but you can't. Both of them are number eights essentially, right? So even if you replace Huda anyway, is not your starting 11 player. He will come in if one of your batters doesn't click, or if someone like uh, Chahal is doing well and India don't want to drop Chahal and play Ashwin, so they might play Hooda. But I think Hooda will more or less be a reserve player. And again, he's also not a number seven kind of a finisher. So he's also probably a middle overs batter. So I'm really not sure how that will help. I think the only way that India can replace Bumrah or make up for his absence is by adding 20 more runs with the bat. So they would probably need to go with uh, an elongated batting depth where there's Akshar at 7, Deepak Chahar at 8, Ashwin at 9, maybe Harshal at 10 or Bhuvi at 10, depending upon, because Bhuvi's numbers have been better than Harshal regardless of the phase. He's definitely a better bowler in the power play, and at depth as well, Harshal's been struggling. So that is where I stand on thing. I don't think Hooda should be replaced. Hooda's already left for Australia, so that's about it. Kanti Madari is asking Paji, who do you think is going to replace Bumrah? I think the front runner to replace Bumrah is Deepak Chahar, purely because of how he batted. Because Shami's not played any T20, and his numbers haven't been great. And for power play bowling, you do have Bhuvneshwar Kumar anyway. So I don't know how Shami will make it to the team. If he had not gotten COVID and if he had done decently in these 60-20 eyes, maybe he would have replaced Bumrah, but I'm not so sure about it right now. Uh, Akshit Dadich is asking your thoughts on the Sanju Samsung innings yesterday. Will he have a chance in the 15 of ODI World Cup 2023? What do you think? Well, I don't think you can draft anyone into the squad or drop anyone from the squad on the basis of one innings. What I'd say is that Sanju is making a very good case for him to be a first backup. The reason why I say first backup is because in the first Indian 11, your top five is pretty much set. In fact, forget the top five. Your top seven is pretty much set with Dhawan and Rohit Sharma opening, Virat Kohli at number three, one of KL or Pant at number four, the other at five, depending upon the situation. Hardik Pandya at six, Ravindra Jadeja at seven, right? Even Shreyas Iyer doesn't really make the first Indian 11 in the ODIs. So Shreyas Iyer is one of the backups for your positions 3 to 4, 5. Sanju Samson could be one of the probably be the second backup. But and I know a lot of players will say that it's difficult for like maybe someone like uh, uh, someone like Shubman Gill should be drafted in because he's been doing well, or Prithvi Shaw would be given a chance. Which is why I feel that this series is very important for Shikhar Dhawan, because Shikhar Dhawan at present has a strike rate of 75 in this year in ODIs, which has been his lowest since 2013 when he became a full member, or like a first 11 member of the ODI team. So Shikhar Dhawan's run scoring rate has been a concern. He's still been averaging around 45, 46, but his strike rate has really become a concern. So Sanju Samson is making a very good case for himself. We'll have to see if he can make it to the first 11 or not. Uh, a lot of questions. I just have to just allow me a moment to scroll through these questions and then take one. Aryan's asking, what is better in T20s, 3 for 45 or 0 for 20? On most days, I'd say 0 for 20, because a 0 for 20 will be allowing for wickets at the other end. Also, we've done a good show on this along with Dan Weston, where he's spoken of how a defensive bowler acts like as an assist to the other bowler. Because even if say you've given 45 runs in 4 overs, and there's a good possibility that if you have given 45 runs, uh, you have not really taken all those 3 wickets in the power play or of those top three batters. If out of those 3 wickets, two of them have come in the last 2 overs, then those figures really don't mean anything. And if you have these figures will only have value if you've picked up the wickets of top three in the power play and then you've given on runs later. But what you need to understand is, if you've given 45 runs in your 4 overs, right? From there on, for a team to score 180, they need to score 135 runs, I suppose, in 16 overs at at less than 9 runs per over, at 8.5 runs an over, which can be far more easier. But if you bowl a spell of 0 for 20 in 4 overs, then that team has to score 160 runs to reach 180 at a run rate of 10. So I more or less will take 0 for 20. But if those 3 for 45, those 3 wickets are coming in the power play or in the first 5 overs, then yeah, maybe I'll take 3 for 45, because from there on, uh, it's still going to be quite difficult for the team to score those many runs. But yeah, on most days, I think I'd be tending towards 0 for 20. I've already taken this question from Harsh Bhavnani. Let me have a look at the other questions. Fayaz S is asking, so Chahar and Harshal starts for you along with the Harshdeep, or would you prefer Bhumi? No, I'll prefer Bhuvi ahead of Harshal. And I'm just going to get into this because now I see there are some people lining up, and a lot of people have this question. Uh, Shubh Agarwal is coming up with a very good question. Do India have the slowest pace attack now heading into the World Cup? Is that a big drawback given the World Cup is in Australia? I would say, if not the slowest, then definitely one of the slowest. But yeah, it's a very good question, because if you look at it, Australia have Stark, Hazelwood, and Cummins, and two bowlers can definitely touch 140 in there. Pakistan have Shaheen, Hasnan, Naseem Shah, and Dahani. Again, I think three of them can touch 140 plus. South Africa have Rabada and Nokia. Nokia can definitely touch 150 plus. Rabada can bowl 140 plus. Ngidi also can touch 140. Apart from that, if you look at England, yes, there's Mark Wood who can really crank it up, but they also, apart from Mark Wood, don't have a lot of pace, and I'm not sure if they'll play Mark Wood in all the games. Uh, then you look at the bowling attack of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka have Lahiru Kumara and Dushman Chamira. Again, both of them are very pacey. And I watched Lahiru Kumara bowl in Mohali in the 100th Test match of Virat Kohli, and he was quick. Then you move on to Bangladesh. Bangladesh have Ibadat Hussain and Taskin Ahmed, both of them again with pace. So yeah, I think it might be the slowest attack, because Odian Smith can also crank it up for West Indies. So yes, it might, and it is a drawback without a doubt. Which is why I said that I don't think after the absence of Bumrah, India can make up for Bumrah's absence with the ball. Because even if you get faster bowlers like Umran or Prasid or Siraj or Shami, they haven't really been consistent enough, and you can't really carry those bowlers, because unlike Australia or South Africa, who have a couple of bowling options in the top six, or even England, India don't have that luxury. India only have six bowling options, where Hardik Pandya is the only player in the top six who can bowl. So unless you have seven bowling options, I don't think you can carry a bowler who has a lot of high variance. And a lot of this would have been sorted itself if Avesh Khan had delivered on the promise that he had shown in the 2021 IPL. And he was decent in 2022 as well. So the team management was actually backing him, but he really bowled quite poorly. He had no control. And when he gave those 53 runs against Hong Kong, I think it was the final nail in the coffin for his chances for the World T20. So yeah, Shub's right there. It might be the slowest attack that India have had, but I don't think it is as slow as the bowling attack that India had in the 2012 World T20, where they had Zahir Khan, Lakshmipati Balaji, and Irfan Pathan. And Zahir Khan was on his last legs. Irfan Pathan had also, become a Praveen Kumar kind of a bowler, bowling in between around 125, 127, maybe late 120s, but not touching 135 for sure. And Lakshmipati Balaji also wasn't, express at that pace of time at that point of time. So yeah, it is probably the slowest pace attack this World Cup amongst the top member nations, but it isn't as slow as the one that we had in 2012. And we were one match away from qualifying for the semi-finals that time. So I still believe that India's batting can carry them, but they'll need a little bit of luck. So that's there. Now coming to Harshal Patel, these are some numbers that I want to share. Uh, in IPL, now these are his IPL numbers. Just just sharing that. Just wait. Yeah, can you see those numbers? Like I said, his Yorker percentage has come down, and the other thing is his economy rate when he's bowled those full tosses has increased by a factor of six. So he's going at 6 runs more per over when he's bowling those full tosses, which also probably means that he's not getting the dip that he should be getting in T20 internationals as opposed to the IPL. So that is where the concern lies for him. And the other thing is that dip is something which is irrespective of the pitch. So if he starts to get his dip back with the large boundaries in Australia, he might work. But we not sure if India have that margin of error with Bhuvi also struggling at the death, and India lacking Bumrah to try out Harshal. So that is one concern with him, and this is what I wanted to share with regards to Harshal. Now I'll get back to taking your questions. Just oh, so I see. Okay, I'll share the I'll share the audio. I'll share the audio once again. Actually, is saying no audio after numbers. Let me just figure this out. Just give me a moment. Uh, so anyway, I am not able to figure it out, but I'll just sum it up for you. So the as for the graphic that you saw, right? In the last two IPLs, in the last 4 overs, Harshal was attempting 25% of his deliveries as Yorkers. His Out of those 25% deliveries, 10% were being nailed as Yorkers, which basically mean that his success rate of Yorkers was 40%, which is a very good percentage of success rate for anyone who tries to bowl at the death and tries to bowl Yorkers. And the economy rate for those Yorkers was 3.7. But in T20 internationals, when he's attempting the same Yorkers, which is again 25%, he's nailing only 7% of the Yorkers, which basically means that his success rate has now come down to 30%. And when those Yorkers are converting into full tosses, the economy rate, which was 10.6 or around 10 for IPL, has now increased to 16.5 in T20 internationals. So that is one major difference. He's not nailing the Yorkers as much as he would in the IPL, and those full tosses are going for far more runs as opposed to what they were doing in the IPL. And this is primarily because he's not getting the dip. Because if he was getting the dip, he would land more Yorkers, and those full tosses will also become difficult to hit. I am not sure when I shared that graphic that there was no audio. I'll try and figure out it the next time, but this was the gist of it. I'm really sorry that that audio was lost, but I don't know how to figure it out. Harsaib saying, "Good evening, Baji. A question: Should teams look to play more of specialists or more of all rounders in T20s?" For me, I think a team with all rounders gets more flexibility, and that helps because you are able to play with. But your all round options also have to be quality. I think England play with three all rounders or three or four all rounders, but somewhere their all rounders lack the quality both with the bat and the ball, because there is because there is uh, be- be- because if you look at bowlers like Sam Curran, David Willey, Moeen Ali, or Livingston, they are matchups and conditions oriented bowlers. If they have to bowl on flat pitches against good batters, they go for runs, and they can be, barring Livingston, other batters can be controlled, or with their run scoring can be controlled in some way or the other. So Aditya Vikram Singh is asking, Paji, when are we going to see the funny and sarcastic side of you, of you more, which pops out sometimes in watch alongs? Well, I'll try. I think you missed it today, but this is why people need to to tune into the watch alongs a lot more. See, also when you're taking all these serious questions and people also expect serious answers, it becomes difficult to get that to get a little sarcastic. But yeah, one of the questions that came in when I posted on Twitter was that, why do you hate Sanju Samson and why do you like Rishabh Pant? Is it because of your love for your North Indian brother? Now, the funny thing about this is, on Twitter every day every week I have a new favorite, and every week I have a new player which I hate. So that is something that keeps coming up, and that it is what it is. I don't have much to say about that. Uh, Harsha is saying the watch alongs with you and Mulli Karthik are fun. I think he's addressing Sumesh Agarwal as Mulli Karthik. I'll let Sumesh know this. Uh, Subodh Chauhan saying, looks like you are from Punjab, but you support Delhi Capitals. No, I'm from Delhi. My ancestors are from Punjab. I have grown up in Delhi. I support Delhi Capitals because it's the city that I have lived in. And it's difficult to support either of the teams because Punjab also have their issues with tactics, so does Delhi. And sometimes I feel like pulling out my hair, for looking at both teams play. So it's not something to be very proud of. Let's be very honest. Uh, Taking in more questions. Vignesh Kiswant is asking me a good question. He's asking, if India lose 4 wickets within 8 overs, whom do you prefer to bat next, Akshar or DK? Vignesh, it depends who's bowling. If opposition has good spinners, then I'll probably promote Akshar Patel. But if opposition has one spinner, someone like Keshav Maharaj, and he's already bowled 3 overs, then I'll probably send in someone like Dinesh Karthik. So it depends. And India are going to play South Africa in Perth, and I don't think that South Africa will play two spinners over there, especially looking at how Shamsi is going for runs in T20 international. So for me, it's dependent upon the situation. Uh, there isn't a fixed solution to this for me. Mohammad Sufyan's asking, India will have to drop Shikhar sooner than later if they want to play Sky in 11 and select Gill in 15. I think Sky is a backup in ODIs. He's a backup to both Shreyas and Samson at the moment. Gill, I think, will always be in the 50. And I'm not saying this because my name is Gurkeerat Singh, but because Gill has a lot of quality and he scored some good runs. But I think for Gill to be in the 11, India will have to drop Shikhar Dhawan, because if you bring in Sky, are you going to open with Sky? I'm very not sure that's the best solution. So I think that Shikhar Dhawan, if he doesn't score at a good rate, he could end up getting dropped. Aditya Vikram Singh is saying Pakistan strategy is Rizwan Babar and then inshallah one of the few gems by Paji. Well, yeah, it's something that I've seen I've seen a lot. Coming to Pakistan, I just want to say today we posted something on our Twitter, and in the latest episode of Wrong Ones Investing, you can check out where we have discussed that do Pakistan actually underutilize the batting of Shadab Khan? I personally feel that they do, and you'll be shocked to see some of the numbers against spin of Shadab, Iftikhar Ahmed, Haider Ali, as well as Asif Ali. You'll be shocked to see who has what kind of numbers, and you'll be shocked to find out those things. So I'll just ask like you guys to, if not really watch the full video, then see the clip on Twitter that we have posted. It's quite informative. Harshal went for runs in the IPL as well, but his economy was neglected because of the number of wickets he used to get. Primarily, yes, but there's a difference in the economy. I did share a graphic, but at that point of time, the audio was lost. I'll share that graphic later on. But yes, it yes, wickets do tend to have that effect, but he wasn't going for the same amount of runs. His full tosses had an economy rate of 10.5 in the IPL. In international cricket, it has 16.5. So there's a difference for sure. Harsaib saying another gem, India chances of winning the World Cup this year. Yeah, so I keep repeating this. India's chances of winning the T20 World Cup this year are the same as that they had in 2007, 2009, 2010, 2012, 14, 16, and 21, because it is a very fickle format. We need to remember that and not get desolate on the absence of Jasprit Bumrah. It's a blow for sure, but it's not something that teams can't overcome. We need to remember that. Can we have Deepak, Bhuvi, and Arshdeep as our three fast bowler? Yashraj is asking. Yashraj, I'm not the coach, so no point in sending in out in capitals for me. I'd probably go with the same bowling attack, and I agree with you, but I'm not sure I can take that decision. So yeah. Knowing your frustration and testosterone levels when a batter gets run out, Paji, you must be fuming on today's run out against Pakistan. Well, here's where I stand on runouts. We blame a batter far too much sometimes when he gets caught on the boundary while attempting a six or a four, or rather a six. We get furious when a batter like Virat Kohli is out playing a cover drive, where if he nails that cover drive he can get 4 runs. We get furious when Rohit Sharma is out playing a pull, when he knows that he will actually nail it and it could go for a six. But we don't get as angry when batters are attempting their a loss of the wicket while just going for a solitary run, right? So my frustration comes from the fact that when the reward for the risk is just a solitary run, is that risk worth it? I think that even if you are attempting a boundary against a negative matchup, the reward is at least higher, right? For a run out, the reward is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. In one of the games in this IPL this year, Virat Kohli, because he was not comfortable against spin bowling, he ran for a non-existent single, and Glenn Maxwell was run out, who was their best west against spin. So I really don't think that runouts are worth it, regardless of the format that you are playing in. Because in Test matches you really don't need to run quick singles. In T20s, your focus should be actually on hitting more boundaries, and in ODIs as well. When you have five fielders inside the circle, the risk of taking that extra run is even greater in ODIs than in T20s, because there's an extra fielder inside the circle. So why would you even attempt to risk your wicket for just an extra run? You might as well try and found a boundary player, dot ball, and try and cover it up. So that is where I stand on the run out. I think it is the most frustrating thing, or it's the most frustrating way to get out in any format of cricket. This is a good question. Your predictions about the future of UZ Chahal in LOIs. Kuldeep and Chahal can't play together, and with Bishnoi breathing down their neck, Chahal is third on this list. Uh, it's actually an interesting one because, see, in ODIs, what we have to realize is that middle overs can actually be far difficult to deal with than in T20Is, because there are only four fielders on the boundary instead of five in T20s, right? So in ODIs, the spinners probably have you know a lesser margin of error, maybe. So if you are not adept to if you're not adept at taking wickets or stopping runs, right? What I think with Kuldeep, I think if the pitch is supportive, like how it was yesterday in Lucknow, where the pitch had turned, his slow pace and his trajectory actually helps him. And if batters are not reading from the hand, then he could turn out to be a nightmare. But if batters start reading him from the hand, or there's nothing happening off the pitch, then he becomes the easiest bowler to deal with amongst Kuldeep, Chahal, and Bishnoi, because he's the slowest of them all, right? And when it's an absolutely flat pitch, then I think it becomes very difficult to deal with someone like Bishnoi because of his trajectory. Because also, on Bishnoi, we have done a feature video. There's also an article by one of our writers, Shubh Agarwal, and he's actually compared him with Rashid and spoken of his trajectory. So coming to you must read that article. With Bishnoi, on a flat pitch, his trajectory makes sure that the ball either keeps coming in or going away, and he doesn't really bowl full, and he doesn't give fly. So somewhere in between lies Yuzvendra Chahal. I do think he has the smarts to succeed in both ODIs and T20s, provided he understands when he needs to go for wickets and when he needs to contain the batter. If he will always look to go for wickets, he will go for runs. And at present, I think his T20I numbers are pretty much comparable, or maybe even worse than Ish Sodhi. And with all due respect to Ish Sodhi, Yuzvendra Chahal has no business being even comparable to Ish Sodhi, just in terms of skill. So that is where I stand on things. So it's very difficult to predict how the future would be, but these are, what I feel are the respective strengths and the shortcomings of these three spinners. If they can work on them, then all of them can improve. But if they don't, then it's difficult. And Yuzvendra Chahal is the eldest of the lot, and Kuldeep's no more younger. Kuldeep's also 27. Kuldeep started playing for India, I think, in 2017. So it's been 5 years that Kuldeep's been playing. So, for both of them, the time's running out slightly, but I think Bishnoi still has a lot of time on his hand to improve. Aditya's coming back to that. Instead, the runouts are considered unlucky and the latter shot in the air stupid ball. Exactly what I'm saying. Runouts are not unlucky, unless they are coming off a deflection at the bowler's end. So that's where I stand on it. Yashraj Padwal is asking who will you choose amongst the spinner, Ashwin or Chahal? In T20Is at present, Ashwin, because I think even if Ashwin doesn't take wickets, he on his bad day he doesn't go for 40 runs or more. In the third T20I, he could have easily had two wickets. He had Quinton de Kock dropped. Very close shout against Rasu. One in the first over, he had beaten Quinton de Kock in the air. He edged it and had gone for runs. But what you have to think is that in that on that ground with 55-meter boundaries, Ashwin still ended up with figures of 0 for 35 despite a drop. It could have easily been 1 for 29. So Ashwin on these kind of pitches becomes a bankable bowler. So that is why for me Ashwin will be ahead of Chahal. Also he adds something to the bat. Human beings is saying मेरा comment नहीं लोगे पाजी. मैं चेक कर रहा हूँ आपका comment, आप वेट करो. बहुत सारे comments आ गए. I'm sorry. Sakleen Mushtaq said ये सब कुदरत की निज़ाम है. After Pakistan lost the T20I, your thoughts on their mentality? Well, I think Pakistan really aren't tactically smart enough, especially with the way their batters back and how they use Shadab Khan. Again, a plug. Please watch the latest episode of Long Ones in Western and do check out what he had to say about Shadab Khan's usage as a batter by Pakistan. You will know why I am saying why they are tactically behind. So yeah, they're tactically not there. They're still very conservative in their ways, and unless Babar has a great tournament and their bowlers keep pulling them through when they're defending a 150 or a 160 kind of a total, Pakistan will struggle in this World Cup. Is what I feel. And just looking at the new comments that have come in. Shubh Agarwal is saying, if Rohit and Kohli walk away from India's T20 setup post the World Cup, which two batters you feel are closest to replace them? Rohit Sharma, without a doubt, I think India after this World Cup, if Rohit Sharma is walking away and the spot of the opener opens up, you have to bring in Prithvi Shaw. For two IPLs in a row, he's been nailing the power play. Even in the last IPL, not this one. This one he got some issues and he was not well. Prithvi Shaw had power play numbers of an average of 30 and a strike rate of 160. No, I think those were his overall numbers. So he had a strike rate of 159 over the course of 2021 IPL while he was averaging around 32. So that essentially means that he was batting 20 balls and scoring 32 runs. And when an opener is batting 20 balls and scoring 32 runs, he's ensuring that at the worst you will be ending up with 50 runs in the power play. And if you do well, if you do decently, if the other end is able to find a couple of boundaries, you can even end up with 55, 60 runs. So for me, Prithvi Shaw has to be there in that T20I setup. And in place of Kohli, I think Sanju Samson should be there. His game against pace is brilliant. Against spin also he does well. And then there's Rahul Tripathi as well that can be tried. So, but I think front runners should be Prithvi Shaw and Sanju Samson, and Rahul Tripathi can be one of the reserves. But what I feel will happen is that Shreyas Iyer will probably replace Virat Kohli at number three, and he's not a bad pick if you are playing in India because small boundaries, good batting pitches, and against spin Shreyas does well. But I think Sanju Samson is uh, far more skilled than Shreyas Iyer because Shreyas Iyer still needs to sort out his game against pace. Ruben Loganathan is saying Rabada has said that playing in the IPL has helped foreigners to know the strength and weaknesses of Indian players. So is IPL a reason India can't win multi-nation tournaments? Well, England cricketers play all around the world. They play in the PSL as well. They play in the BBL also. So do West Indies cricketers. But you know, when last World T20 West Indies did quite poorly, and England also now got knocked out in the semi-finals. So I don't think that's the reason because when youngsters also play the likes of Rabada, Nokia, Cummings, uh, other bowlers as well that come from around the world, Rashid Khan or Dushwanta Chamira, they also become far more skilled. Plus, with the amount of analytics that is there, I don't think you can hide anything. It's very difficult to hide anything. So IPL is not a reason for India not winning multinational tournaments. The only reason is that I think for a long time India were not up with the game. They were far too conservative, and now they've also been a little unlucky with all the injuries that have happened. You could question the choice of personnel that Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid have chosen to back, but whosoever they have backed, they have given them a decent run. Shreyas Iyer was dropped from the T20 side after 11 games. So was Rishabh Pant from the 11. So was Avesh Khan. And if Chehel or Bhuvneshwar Kumar or Harshal Patel get dropped, they would have also been dropped after a decent run. So that is, I think, was also important. Plus, like I said earlier in the show, if Avesh Khan had delivered on the faith that they had showed him, then we wouldn't have had so many headaches as to who will be our third pacer or who will bowl at the death. Because Avesh had the potential, but he's not bowled well, and you can't blame the captain and the coach for a bowler or a player not performing up to its potential. So that's what I think, and I think that India have been unlucky with the injuries as well. Jadeja getting injured, Bumrah getting ruled out, Hooda also getting injured just before the IPL. So KL Rahul was just before the World Cup. KL Rahul was also injured in between, and he missed quite a lot of games. So, yeah, it's not been easy for Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma as well. Even Surya Kumar Yadav was injured for the series against South Africa in June. So there have been a lot of injuries as well. पीयूष इज आस्किंग पाजी एनसीए इतना इररिस्पॉन्सिबल कैसा हो सकता है जसप्रीत की इंजरी को लेकर जसप्रीत को रश करने की क्या जरूरत थी पीयूष का एक क्वेश्चन काफी अच्छा है एंड इसमें मैंने पहले भी बात करी है आई थिंक मैंने लास्ट एपिसोड में भी बोला था कि किसी को ज़रूरत है एनसीए से क्वेश्चन करने की कि आपका प्रोसेस क्या है बिकॉज पहली बार ही ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि एनसीए से एक प्लेयर फिट होके आया और फिर कुछ टाइम बाद वो बड़ी ड्यूरेशन के लिए रूल्ड आउट हो गया है भुवनेश्वर कुमार बहुत बारी इंजर्ड रह रहे थे 2018 में एनसीए जाकर वृद्धिमान साहब भी खुश नहीं थे एनसीए जाकर तो यहाँ पर मेरे को लगता है एनसीए की कुछ जवाबदेही बनती है और किसी ना किसी को वो क्वेश्चन पूछने की ज़रूरत है बट बीसीसीआई को प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस लेता ही नहीं है अक्षय बदलानी आस्किंग What do you think is David Miller's weakness as a batter? I tried to analyze his batting since IPL 2022. Could not really find any. He played Ashwin well too in the recent T20 Is. Well, there's something very interesting over here. During the IPL, I had posted David Miller's numbers against spin, or someone, and someone else had shared a comment by David Miller's father saying that he's really worked hard on his game and he started to pick the spin from the hand and look to play late and not commit early. That is what his father had shared. I wish I could search that tweet and share that. But yeah, David Miller's weakness early on was spin, but now he's just become far too good against spin as well. So he's become pretty much a complete batter. And players go through that phases where they have no weakness at all, and when they are in that phase, nothing seems to perturb them or stop them. It just happens. Biswajoy Kumar Das is asking, Paji, do you feel Harshal will be successful in Australia and should India play Ash ahead of Chahal? Will Harshal be successful in Australia will depend a lot upon the kind of dip that he's getting. If he's not getting any dip, then he could really go for a lot of runs. And should India play Ash ahead of Chahal? Yes, I've already spoken that. And yeah, that should be a no-brainer. Just saying, by the way, uh, on this question, uh, Chahal's economy rate against right-handers in T20 Is is 8.2. Ashwin's economy rate against right-handers in T20 Is is 7.26. I think that those are the numbers. It's lesser than Chahal for sure. It's something that I checked upon. So Ashwin, even against his negative matchup, has a better economy rate than what Chahal has against his positive matchup. So that's where the difference is. Why Chahal is too good in the IPL but struggle for India? Because at the international level, batters know what is coming, and they are waiting for that flighted or full delivery to take full toll of Chahal. In the IPL, there are some inexperienced batters as well that probably commit a little bit early. And then this IPL, Chahal also had the advantage of bowling along with Ashwin, where Ashwin wasn't giving any runs at all. He was bowling in the power play. He was being very, very tight. He was the most economical bowler for Rajasthan Royals. In when he's playing for India, he doesn't really have that support at the other end because Akshar just became a regular member of the team. Ravindra Jadeja before that wasn't as good a bowler as Akshar Patel is. So, and even then, Akshar isn't as defensive or can stop runs as what Ashwin can in the middle overs. So that also plays a part, I feel, somewhere. And again, uh, like I've said, at the international level, the batters know what is coming and they know where and how to attack Chahal. In IPL, sometimes the domestic Indian batters don't know that, and that is why you get wickets. Pari, seeing his performances and his batting was exposed all over, do you think there's a future for Iyer in many of the formats? Yes, there is. Just yesterday, he played a brilliant innings. I think in test matches, especially at home, he can be a very good player. I expected him to do well in England because pitches in England don't have that much pace, and I think he can do decently against movement. But that is a very small sample space to say anything. But yes, if he doesn't work on his game against pace, then the runs that he's been scoring against spin, he will not get those opportunities to score against spin at all. So he really needs to work on it and work on it very quickly because the word has spread. Because if James Anderson at 40 years old, who's known to get batters out using the swing available in England, is bouncing you out, then there's a problem. Then there's a very obvious problem, and you need to work on that weakness without being disrespectful to anyone. Every time Rohit walks into field, it feels like he's hopeless. Seems like it is better he retires from all formats. Paji, do you agree, or I'm just getting a fan? I'm just a fan getting over anxious. I think you're getting over anxious. No, India still need Rohit in ODIs and in Test matches. I'd like both Rohit and Virat to retire from T20 internationals after this World Cup. We saw yesterday what happened when India were playing quality pace. When you're playing a quality bowling attack, you do need the likes of Rohit and Virat, even in white ball, to play out those spells and then make merry when you've got your eye in. So he's not hopeless. He's what every Indian captain is. At the end of the day, Not everyone can be MS Dhoni. And sometimes, even when MS Dhoni didn't look hopeless, he didn't try enough. Like, the overseas test cycle from 2011 to 2015, or 2014 rather. So, uh, he's just being an Indian captain. And when we have captains who are not very expressive, like KL Rahul, we just say that he lacks body language. So it's a very tricky role. If you are over expressive, then you are said that you can't keep your calm. Like what was the criticism for someone like Virat Kohli a lot of the times. And when you are also, expressive like Rohit, you are being said that you're hopeless. You have to see where he's coming from and what's his psyche, because you're losing your players to injury. You don't know where's the solution, and whatever you try is not working out. So you're bound to be frustrated, and I think that frustration is sometimes showing on Rohit's face. But ideally, you'd like him to keep his calm and be the best captain that he can be come the World T20. Kuldeep's T20 I stat says he's much better bowler than Chahal. Don't you think India could have given him more games? Well, it's difficult for him to get games for India if he's not getting games for his franchise. And for 2 seasons, he was on the bench because Varun Chakraborty was doing better than him. And I know people might disagree with me rather, that Kuldeep did take around 20 wickets this IPL, but his economy rate was on the higher side, and he was only bowling in the middle overs. And his economy rate was very similar to that of a Imran Malik, who was in his first full season and an uncapped player, and only 21, 22 years old, and a 150 plus fast bowler who doesn't have that a lot of control. Kuldeep, I think, also like Chahal, tends to be over aggressive, and Kuldeep doesn't even have the pace to sometimes get away when the batter is coming after him. And there were quite a few games where Kuldeep was taken apart in the IPL. In fact, if you separate his numbers versus KKR and against oppositions which are not KKR, you will see a stark difference. He took 8 wickets against KKR and 12 against other oppositions in the remaining 12 games, and his economy rate in the remaining 12 games was over 9. So some of his very good performances actually made his numbers look better and made him look better as a bowler than what he was. It is what is my observation. People are free to disagree. Pranav Anand is saying TM has shown they are willing to be flexible with the lineups they play against a particular opposition. Example, they swap Chahal for Ash against SA. Can India do it for batters against spin heavy? Well, who would they bring? Because you know Rishabh Pant's not working out as a left-handed batter who can attack left arm spin, and the other option that you have is Deepak Hooda, and your batters are pretty much doing the job. It's your bowlers who are a concern right now. KL Rahul is doing well, Rohit Sharma is doing well, Virat Kohli is getting back into form. I don't need to say what Surya Kumar Yadav is doing. Hardik Pandya is doing well. Dinesh Karthik is doing his job. So I think against spin heavy oppositions, like I said earlier on, what could happen is that Akshar Patel could get promoted ahead of Dinesh Karthik. That is what I see happening. But I really don't see India tinkering a position in the 11, a place in the 11, looking at the bowling lineups. Devansh is saying, I don't understand why NC is not held accountable for so many injuries after their clearance. It is something that I have spoken my mind about. I think they should be held accountable. If India wins World T20, are we going to see you mutton biryani live in Deep Point? I'd love to. I'd love to share it with a lot of you. I'd hope we if India do win the World T20, we are there on the watch along and we are eating that mutton biryani. I love my non-veg food and I love biryani, and I think mutton biryani is definitely better than chicken biryani. People are again free to disagree, but yeah, it's something that's my personal opinion and I love it. Uh, Exploit is asking, do you think it is okay to sacrifice some immediate success for long-term success? For example, making bold decisions such as fast-tracking unique resources. An excellent question. Uh, in some, in it can happen in test matches, but what is happening is that at this point of time, there is so much pressure on the Indian team with regards to not winning an ICC trophy since 2013 that I don't even see them trying to experiment much even in the test matches against Bangladesh, because they need to win those test matches for the qualification for the World Test Championship. and having a chance to win that trophy. So, yeah, ideally you'd want that, but given the amount of pressure that is there, even when a team like India loses a bilateral series, it's difficult. But ideally, yes, you would want that without a doubt. I agree. Amin the Gunner is asking, do you think our young batters get bogged down due to their inability to rotate strikes, especially when conditions are challenging and big hits don't come off? I don't think they get bogged down because there's inability to rotate strike. Yesterday, what happened was that they just came across a bowling attack like the likes of Ruturaj and Ishan Kishan that they wouldn't have faced at any of the domestic level. So they really didn't know what to do. They probably wanted to go for their big shots, but they felt that the situation wasn't fit for it. And with and Babuma was actually very good with his fields, and they couldn't really find a single somewhere. So it was it there was a certain amount of, what do you call it, maybe the occasion sort of overwhelmed both of them a little bit, but it was also some very good bowling. And I think if you're not probably a Virat Kohli or a Rohit Sharma, you would struggle to rotate strike against that bowling attack. And if you see the batters that came after them, Shreyas Iyer and Sanju Samson, they have played far more better bowling attacks, and they've had far more exposure, so they could do that, and they have far more confidence in their game at this point of time. So it was a combination of a lot of factor. I wouldn't really say that they just got bogged down because of their inability to rotate strike. I just think it was a combination of a lot of factors. And I wouldn't really say they are, I wouldn't really say something about their ability just on the basis of one game. But I do think against pace, both Ruturaj and Ishan Kishan really don't use their feet a lot. So that is there. Who would be that one X factor according to you? There are many like Hardik, Sky, and Rohit, but just one. I think for India to go all the way in this World Cup, there are three players particularly who need to do very well. Hardik, the bowler, uh, KL Rahul, the batter, and Suryakumar Yadav, the batter. And somewhere the likes of, if India have to beat South Africa in Perth, you would need both Rohit and Virat to come good with the bat. Without that, it would be quite difficult. Mridul Batra is asking, should KL and Rohit continue aggressive approach versus Park in batting first, especially to put Park paces under the pump and off radar as it will be during the twilight period, and they might find some movement. Uh, I think their approach will be that way only, that they will take the aggressive approach. See, if you're batting first, you anyway are up against it because you don't know what the power score is. So you need to score those 10-15 runs extra. And with the Indian bowling attack, with the kind of shape it is in, you really need those, 15-20 runs extra more. So they have no other option but to go with that approach and try and score those extra runs. Forget the twilight period, forget the swing or whatever there is. They just need to go with that aggressive approach. They don't have any other option. Vikram Mohanty is asking, do you think Sanju Samson deserves a place in the current T20 squad instead of Iyer, given his weakness against short ball, and Oz will have plenty of it? I think yes, he should have been in the reserves. I have no idea why Shreyas Iyer is this. I agree with you. Why don't India have a press conference for selection anymore like every other country? I just saw Pakistan selection head came on TV and explained their selection. And yes, credit to Pakistan cricket board over there. Even Ramiz Raja takes a lot of press conference, and Pakistan have now started a Pakistan Junior League to unearth some of the under 16 talent, I believe. And it's good that there is far more transparency. They are taking questions. We need that system as well, and I think as fans or as some sort of influencers, we need to keep voicing our concerns and hope that someday BCCI does the same. I agree with you that it has to be there. The only reason it is not there is because BCCI doesn't want clarity. Simple as that. Yashraj is saying, why are you not picking up my question? Wait, Yashraj, let me look for your question. There are a lot of comments coming in. I'm sorry. I'm just looking for your question now. Wait. Uh, does Pakistan have the strongest bowling attack with two good spinners, Nawaz and Shadab, Naseem Shah, Shaheen Afridi, and Haris Rauf? Oh, I had forgotten about Haris Rauf when Shubh Agarwal had asked. Well, they have a very competent bowling attack. But at the same time, you have to realize that the likes of Naseem Shah, Mohammad Wasim Jr., Mohammad Hasnain, they are inexperienced. And Shadab as a spinner can be sometimes erratic. He can go for runs. Nawaz is good, yes, but yes, they have a very well-rounded bowling attack. I wouldn't really say strongest because I think South Africa also have good bowling attack, and Haris Rauf has played in BBL, so he will have that experience. I'm not sure how much Shaheen has played in Australia, so I'm that is where my concern is. I'll have to check this. I'm not really sure, but yes, Pakistan do have a good attack on paper. Also, Shaheen's coming off an injury. He's not played the Asia Cup. He's not played the 70-20 Is, and I don't think he played the Netherlands ODIs as well. So you don't know how a player coming in straight from injury after a layoff of 2.5 to 3 months will do in the tournament. So that is also a concern that I have. So Yashraj, there you go. I've taken your question. I'm sorry for missing it out earlier. Akshay Badlani is asking India's catching efficiency in T20Is in 2022 is around 75%, which is second last amongst top 10 teams. Who do you think could be the reason since we have had a very good fielding side earlier? Akshay Badlani, I first want to ask you from where do you get this stat because I know from where you got the stat. It was shared by Akash Chopra as well, and he had credited cricket.com only. What could be the reason is something I'm really not sure. One of the reasons is definitely that I think India have played at grounds where catches do tend to go down. Like in Dubai, there are a lot of catch drops anyway. In Mohali as well, but yes, those numbers are a little poor, and India do need to field well. Yesterday also the fielding was a concern. I really don't know who could be the reason because the catches that India have dropped are quite regulation. You don't need a fielding coach to tell you how to take those catches, especially at this level because you are taught that from the most elementary level. I just think it's maybe a matter of concentration where players are just switching off and not getting switched on when the ball is coming to them. That's the only reason I can think of. But probably if someone asks in one of the press conferences, we would know it better. But my guess is that players are not concentrating enough. That is the only thing that I can come up with. Don't you think KL's best number in D20Is is three at least going forward? Not three, I'd say somewhere four or five. Coming in and batting in the middle overs, something what he does in the ODIs as well, because he's far too skillful to be an opener. At an opening position, you could have better batters. You could look at maybe at an opening combination of Shaw and Pant with Samson being one down and KL Rahul being four, uh, and someone like Hardik Pandya, Surya Kumar, or Surya Kumar Yadav being four, KL Rahul being five, Hardik Pandya six. So you could potentially look at that lineup. So yes, I think that KL would at least it would India would be better served if KL moves to the middle order in T20Is because he's too skillful for the position of opening, and he's a very quality batter that you don't want to lose in the power play itself. So if he is there in the middle order and you can have dashers who can give you a good start, then KL in the middle order really strengthens your batting lineup. A lot of questions have come in today. Vikram Mohanty saying Indian reporters and journalists ask useless questions instead of asking serious questions. Should a team and management and hold them accountable? They go on licking their feet. I wouldn't be this harsh. I think questions are decent. I just think that sometimes they know that those questions will not be allowed. I wouldn't be so harsh on them. Yeah. Do you think Rahul Chahar can be a better option than Chahal and Kuldeep in T20? He hasn't done anything for me to think that. If he does well, then maybe I'll have to think about it. Well, I've been on the show for 59 minutes now. I'm now getting a little tired. Just taking a few last questions and then I'll end this. What do you think about New Zealand and South Africa's chances in this World Cup? I personally think they are the better team. Better than which team? I do think South Africa are definitely one of the favorites. Not so sure about New Zealand because New Zealand have historically struggled in Australia. Even in the recent ODIs, they struggled, and I don't think that New Zealand, apart from Lockie Ferguson, maybe have the attack. And Lockie Ferguson is also someone who can be very erratic on a few days. Like if he's good, he'll be very good. If he's bad, he'll be very bad. So yeah, there's Sadner is Sodi again, very erratic bowler. So and yeah, there Kane Williamson hasn't been in great form either. Guptill's been struck. Guptill's also played a very bad innings in the final of the World T20. So I'm not so sure about New Zealand. I think New Zealand will probably struggle to make the semis. But South Africa, I think, will definitely be one of the favorites. Oh, Harsh Bhavnani, your top four for T20 World Cup. Australia, South Africa, I think will top their world groups. India, I think, should be the second team from their group, and I think England should be the second team from the other group. So, Australia, South Africa, England, and India will be my teams. Do you think Pakistan's bowling attack is overrated? They are good, but their economy is very high. This is what I meant when I said they have a lot of potential. A lot of their bowlers are young. So when you are young pacers, you will probably have high economy rates because you are operating between a lot of a high variance. You could on your day bowl a 3 for 20 kind of a spell, and on a bad day you could bowl a 0 for 45 kind of a spell. So that would essentially make your economy rate around 8, and that's relatively high, you would say. Aditya Vikram Singh is in considering our tradition of scapegoats after World Cup debate. Because if India lose, do you think it will be the end of Mamre's tenure where he could not defend 378 in England, two times in South Africa, and Asia Cup failure? Uh, well, these days the bowling coaches and the fielding coaches are like the extended arms of the head coach. So I don't think a bowling coach will be removed as a standalone. If the coaching setup is removed, it will be removed fully. But I don't think it will happen because you don't have anyone else as a ready replacement. Paji, do you think sometimes the selections are also made on hype rather than consistent performances? See, selections are subjective at the end of the day. So selections will obviously, and when you are selecting a team in India, it's actually a practice of elimination because uh, there will be a lot of players who will be good to make the eventual 15, right? So how do you eliminate players? And there will obviously be a little bit of bias because the people who are selecting the teams will all they are also human beings. They will have their favorites. So yeah, selection is subjective, and because it is subjective and selectors also have their bias, sometimes they will go for hype rather than consistent performances, and that hype isn't always generated online through a Twitter or any social media. Sometimes when selectors are watching the games, they pick those things which we as a viewer may not, especially when those games are not even being telecasted. Now, Dilip Vengsarkar, and this is something what Virat Kohli has spoken. Dilip Vengsarkar was in New Zealand watching the New Zealand A versus India A series, and he saw Virat Kohli score 100 in New Zealand versus New Zealand A, and he picked Virat Kohli when at the very same time someone like Subramanian Badrinath was scoring shitload of runs in the Ranji Trophy and in the domestic circuit. Now, do you say, can in hindsight, can you say it was a bad selection? Maybe not, but at that point of time, it could have easily been said that Subramanian Badrinath is being ignored. Now, both the statements are right, are correct in their own right. So it's a very difficult. There is no one objective answer to this because selection on the whole is a very subjective thing. What about Washington Sundar? He can bat well, and I think he can replace Jadeja over Akshar in ODI as well. Washington Sundar needs to be fit. He has had so many injury concerns, COVID, hamstring, some other issue, or some split webbing. He's had a very bad year, a very bad 18 months, I'd say, because he was also in India's squad for the Test series versus England, but he got injured while playing for a county team in one of the warm-up games. So he's had some very bad luck in the last 15-18 months. If he has, if he stays fit, then yes, I think that he can also be one of maybe top five, top six batters for India in Test matches who can also give them a bowling option and a very good bowling option. Any positives for our bowling lineup? Anything? Well, the positive is that they can't go worse than this, and so I think the worst has already happened. So anything that happens from here on will be a positive, and I think that's a very big positive. Aditya was saying that I don't get sarcastic or fun, or people don't see the funny side of things, but I think this is quite funny. I don't think it can get worse than this. This is the only positive. How do you see reports of Shami as the confirmed replacement of Bumrah in World Cup? Well, playing the World T20 is Shami's destiny because if that happens, because in 2014 he made his debut in the World T20, played 3 matches and got dropped. Last year he didn't play a single T20I in the lead up to the T20 World Cup and he was still in the squad and played all 5 games. So if that happens, then Lala is probably God's favorite child. That's what you can say. So uh, another question: do you see Tripathi being played at six in next ODI as he can chip in with some overs of medium pace? I don't see him playing because you need to give some chances to other players as well. Do you think Ritik Shokeen can be India's next R Ashwin in red ball? I have not seen him enough, so I can't make that comment. Well, on this note, I'll now end this. Okay, one last question has come in. If Gill maintains his form in ODIs, I don't see how the selectors can ignore him for Dhawan for the opening spot. It makes no sense. Why going to go with somebody who's clearly miles better at the moment? I agree. Dhawan's strike rate is a concern. He is striking at 75 in ODIs, which is his lowest since 2013. When since the time he's become a proper member of the ODI side. So yes, and yeah, I this is the last question now. I'll only take some closing comments and then I'll end this show. Yashraj is saying thanks a lot for doing this. I really enjoy your analysis. Yashraj, I had just one thing to say. Please like the video, do share it with your friends, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I will be there every Friday doing a show, and you should also check out the other properties of cricket.com. Do check out Long Ones with Weston. That's if you like analysis, then I think is a very good show because it's purely based on numbers. It breaks a lot of myths. We've just released a video today on what is the value of captaincy in T20. So that is one video you should definitely check out. And yeah, that's all I can say. And I'm now ending the show. I was supposed to be on for around 40 minutes. It's been 1 hour 6 minutes, and I really like. And I say this quite often. I really like how a lot of you feel that I'm worthy enough of answering your questions, and you actually give that, and I see that as one form of as an appreciation and as a token of respect for the work that I do, and it's something that I respect a lot. So please keep sending in your questions, and please like, share, and subscribe. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter. There is my handle. I'm just sharing that on the screen. Just give me a moment. Uh, and yeah, yeah, I'm now really getting tired. These are our handles. We are Cricket on Twitter, cricket.com_official on Instagram, and cricket.com/TV on YouTube. I am there on Twitter as Gurkirat S Gill. On Instagram, I'm there as GillyCricket. You can always ask your questions there. And yeah, that's about it for today. Keek is saying, "Maza aa gaya, Paji." Thank you so much, Keek. Please share and share the words. Vikram Hanti saying, thanks a lot for answering our questions. Always wonderful to hear your views. Thank you so much, Vikram. Love the fact that people actually turn up to answer, turn up for the show, and love to hear me. And on this note, I'm now finally ending the show. Thank you so much.